G'day, my name's Chris Maguire and I'm here to answer all your questions. I'm going to be going through the most commonly asked questions in music stores, plus going through a whole bunch of gear, one of my favourite subjects. So if you do have any questions, just flick them through the Oz Music Central website and I'll get to them as we come to them. Okay, the number one most asked question when you come into a music store, and the number one product that we sell the most, are guitar strings. We're going to go through all the different types of guitar strings and answer your most commonly asked questions. So we're going to start off with nylon strings first. Your nylon strings are your nylon string guitars type thing. You cannot put steel strings on a nylon string guitar. You'll end up ruining the guitar. So they're your nylon strings. Next ones up from that will be your steel strings, or they're sometimes called phosphor bronze, but just regular steel strings, what they're mostly commonly known as. They have a lot more brighter sounds than the nylon strings. Now, with the difference from these ones, you can actually put nylon strings on the steel string guitars sometimes, but check with your music store first. They do come in different gauges, from a really light gauge to heavier gauges. The advantage of the light gauge is that you can play a little bit faster on the lighter gauge. With the heavier gauge you get a lot more resonance, so really good for if you're a really heavy strummer, things like that, so go for the heavier gauge. If you like a little bit of both, get a medium gauge, something like 11, 12 is a good medium gauge string for the steel strings. Then that brings us to the electric. Your electric strings are made from nickel, and again they come in different gauges. Your regular gauge is normally something like 9 to 42. That is the 9 on the bottom string and a 42 gauge on the top string. You can get thicker again. Basically same rules as apply from the steel string. The lighter the string, the faster you can play, but it has a tendency to sound a little tinny. With thicker strings, again you get a lot more resonance. Also too, if you have a tendency to detune your guitar into the sort of style of music that you're into, definitely go with thicker strings, because they'll keep the tension on the strings and they're going to sound a lot tighter, and you're going to get a tighter sound from it. It's going to sound quite good. Another thing with your electric, a pack that is light on the bottom, so this is a 10 on the bottom, which is pretty normal, but then a 52 on the top, which is really heavy. That's really good if you're tuning to drop D or something like that. If you don't know what drop D is, these aren't the strings for you, just get your regular ones. But if you do tune to drop D, I would definitely go the 52. Again, that's going to give you more tension on the top string when you detune. It's going to be a tighter, punchier sound, so definitely go with them. And Dunlops are a really good brand too. I'm not endorsed to say that, but they are what I use, and they're really cheap too, $13.95. You can get them from anywhere. Then your bass guitar strings are all pretty regular. Either 4-string or 5-string packs. Usually about the same gauge, 45 to 100. Your 5 strings are going to be a little bit more. The next one's going to be thicker again, obviously. And they are more expensive because they're a lot thicker. So there's a lot more steel that goes into it. That's why they're more expensive. So poor old bass players have to shell out a little bit more for them, but they don't have to change their strings as often. That brings me to another commonly asked question, is how often should I change my strings? At the maximum 3 months. 3 months is the absolute maximum. If you practice a lot, every week or every 2 weeks is really good. You'll notice that the tone will start to die and fade away, and they'll start to get crusty if you don't wipe your strings down after you play as you should. Everybody is different, but 3 months maximum. But if this is a really good tip, if you smoke, stop smoking and go get your guitar strings changed every week. you're going to have a lot better guitar tone, and the health benefits as well. It's going to be even more beneficial to you. So if that'd be one tip for that. But yeah, changing your strings as often as you can is a really good idea to really keep that tone. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. Hopefully that covered all your questions. If you do have any more, just flick us an email from Oz Music Central or Chris Maguire or Chris at musicheaven.com.au.